watch is showing too, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. So welcome everybody to Virtual30, our weekly series happening every Tuesday. This is our 8th session in our series, so thanks everyone for taking us this far and joining us today. It is June 2nd, and our topic is cutting costs with PoE lighting. And we do have a panelist discussion today. We've got Eric and Sean from Vsoft Infrastructure. So before we begin, I'm going to share our working from home picture of the week, which we have another comic this week, similar to last week for those who were able to join then. This one's kind of just picking fun at the difference in clothing in the office versus clothing at home. We've got a guy on the left, you can see him in a suit saying he's got to dress to impress in this line of work. And then you have a guy on the right working from home in his rabbit onesie pajamas. So, or like he likes to call it, this year's hottest professional look. So I know a lot of us have been stuck at home for months now and obviously have a little more relaxed dress code at home. So shout out to anybody out there who's listening in their pajamas right now. Before we get started, real quick, my name's Brianna Colder, and I'm the Corporate Project and Event Coordinator at Vsoft, as well as the moderator for this series. Like I mentioned, we have Eric and Sean here today, so I'll let them introduce themselves. Eric, if you can go first.
Yeah, absolutely. So as she said, my name is Eric Holder. I am the Managing Director of Global IT Operations here at Vsoft. I've been here for about a year and looking forward to progressing with the company.
Perfect. And Sean?
How you guys doing? I'm Sean Wozniak. I'm the engineering manager here at Vsoft. I've been here just a little over a year as well, and look forward to discussing all about the integrated technologies one of which we're going to discuss today.
Perfect. So like I said, our topic is PoE lighting. So Eric and Sean are going to kind of explain what PoE lighting is. They'll mention the features and benefits of it. They'll do a little price comparison and cost savings, and then we'll do listen to some top use cases. Like always, we'll have a Q&A at the end with both Eric and Sean. So if you have any questions along the way, you can just drop them in the Q&A box, and we'll be sure to get them answered. For anybody that's new, we call it Virtual30, just as our way of getting everything done in 30 minutes or less. That is our goal. So we hope we can get you on with your Tuesday. With that said, I will let Eric and Sean take it from here.
Sure, appreciate it. So obviously one of the things, with everything that's going on in the world right now, one of the most common questions we're hearing is, how can I save money? Everybody's looking to save money. You have staff that are temporarily displaced. Expenses are going up, revenue is down. So that's what's one main focus that a lot of people have. And what Sean and I are going to present today is a solution that may help answer that question. That is power over Ethernet lighting. Now, I know a lot of people may not be familiar with what PoE lighting is, but in its simplest form, it's light fixtures, appliances, whatnot, that are powered over an Ethernet cable as opposed to traditional AC wiring. It's a very simple design, and if we can switch over to that next slide for me. This kind of gives you a broad perspective of how this works. So typically, you have traditional electric coming in, going to a box, running through conduit, going out to fixtures, to switches, to every piece of equipment that you have regarding lighting. From an end user standpoint, they see, from the basic operation, they basically see no difference. So you've still got your traditional dimmer switches, you have your light switches, you have the lights in recessed ceilings. So they see no difference. Where you see a lot of the difference is on the back end as far as reporting and whatnot. So Sean, if you'd like to kind of walk them through the basic steps here and explain this diagram a little bit on the basic functionality of PoE lighting.
Sure. So the basics are how you described it, Eric, is we eliminate the need for any of the AC that comes into your house. If you can think of the network cable that you plug your computer into, we're doing the exact same thing using a PoE switch and then a light fixture that is run by the power delivered over that same network cable, Cat 5e, Cat 6, that light fixture. That light fixture only uses that power. And because it's a smart technology, it doesn't need to use all of that power. So the cost savings start just by investing in the PoE lighting solution. However, there's cost savings beyond that depending on how those lights used, whether they're on 24 hours a day, you know, like I am in my office with very little light whatsoever. But it's again, it's a standard network location, a network cable that is run to where the light fixture is going to be. It's terminated in a standard T568 fashion, which is a standard network terminating procedure, and it's connected to the network. Controller, which is to the left on this slide from the PoE switch, that's where the smart end of things comes into play, the analytics, where you turn lights on and off with an app. You can turn them on and off with a switch at the wall. Again, so that's also just taking that same network cable from the switch, from the PoE switch to the wall, and then out of the wall to the light fixture. It's quite simple. It's very easy to do. There's some trepidation in it, only because you're eliminating the AC wire, which is the de facto standard. It's what we've all grown up with. It's what we all know. But moving on, cost savings and the benefit of the PoE lighting far out of anything that AC wiring or an alternating current electric system uses.
Appreciate that. Now, far beyond the basic operation, there are a ton of features and benefits that go along with PoE lighting, and we'll walk through some of those on the next slide here. One of my personal favorites is daylight harvesting. Very similar to Sean, I like a very dim office. One of the things that you can do with daylight harvesting is you can set a specific lumen value that you would like your office to be. And, you know, say, as you can see, you know, what we're both in, if the sun exceeds what the lamps inside actually need to run, it'll turn them off. 100% outside lighting. And then say we're here, you know, 8, 9 o'clock at night, there's obviously no sunlight outside. Interior lights compensate to go up to that lumen value. So it's really, really nice. Another really cool feature are occupancy sensors. So it can actually detect if you're inside a room, if you leave, you know, if an office is vacant for an hour, I want to shut the lights off, or I want to turn it blue, or do something of that nature. And what's really cool, and we'll get more into the analytics of it, you can start looking on the back end where, say you have an office building of 100 offices, and we say, okay, well, we need to do some sort of construction because we're out of office space. Something you can actually look at on the back end is, well, you know, are we really? We have, say, 80 offices that are, you know, occupied 80% of the time, but the remaining offices, there's only someone in there 3% of the time. So you can reallocate, maybe move someone out to a cube, give someone an office, and kind of go from there. You can also build it into your AV system where, you know, more often than not, you go into a conference room, you turn the TV on, you turn the projector on, the lights are too bright. It can automatically dim those down to match whatever the needs are. Advanced scheduling, say you have 30 employees that leave the lights on, you know, in a hotel or in an office. After hours, automatically 7 p.m. it's gone. You know, we'll turn it off, save some money. The tunable white lighting is really, really neat because you have a lot of different features or a lot of different preferences where some people like the warm light, some people like a cool light. In Sean's office, you can tell it's kind of a soft, well, I should say more of a warm white, where I'm kind of the opposite. I like that cool white. You can tailor every individual space, whether it's a hotel room, a conference room, an office. And another cool feature is you can do color beacons. So say, for example, there's a fire. You could have a specific pathway lit up in red or orange as far as where your exit route is leading to the exit signs. If we can switch over one more. So this is where you get a little bit more of a feature set. So your basic user, obviously, they see a light switch, they turn a light switch on, light comes on. There are so many more ways to access this system. You can do it from the web. You can do it from, you know, a smart panel on the wall. You can do it from your cell phone. You can do it remotely through the cloud. So, you know, you want your entire office to light up like a Christmas tree. You can do something like that. Another cool feature, say the power goes out. If there's existing UPS capability, you can back up the entire system on power. So the building power shuts down, UPS fires up, and then you don't lose any of the lights, which is kind of a nice feature. Something I do really like is a lot of the devices themselves have it's not just a light. So they have other sensors, other hardware built in. So you can have a CO2 sensor, you could have speakers for, you could utilize as an intercom or elevator music essentially. Obviously the motion sensors and whatnot, you can have built-in humidity sensors, and all this can tie into an overall smart building environment, which is really, really nice. And then one of my favorite features, because I'm a data guy, all the analytics that you can do, create custom dashboards. If you're trying to prove this as a proof of concept, put it up in a conference room, show your boss exactly how much energy you're saving on a daily basis. Occupancy details, like I had mentioned, and other miscellaneous sensor data. And Sean, I mean, you've had extensive experience with this. Is there anything else from a feature standpoint that you can think that they would really like to know about?
The list, guys, is so extensive. You can stay in your mind that this is just a light fixture, but when Eric says that he's a data guy, the analytics behind it are phenomenal. But the light fixtures themselves, while they look just like a light fixture, as Eric pointed out, they come with a multitude of different actionable sensors, things that can create an environment for you that is not only productive, but it's also safe. One of the things that I'll touch on later is from a safety perspective. In this day and age, we have to talk about active shooters. This type of PoE lighting, we can use and turn on lights remotely. If we have cameras in areas that are dark, we can turn them on, or motion, because these fixtures have motion sensors to them. If there's a bad guy running down the hallway, as I did at a church a number of years ago, guy broke in and was running down the hallway, and each time he ran down the hallway and passed another light fixture, the light came on. So the police were, from the outside, able to find out exactly where he was, because as he was walking, lights were coming on. So this is more than just a light fixture. So we don't want to just take it as just a light fixture. However, it can be used simply as a very cost-effective and economical lighting solution for both residential as well as all of the different commercial verticals.
I am glad that you mentioned instances like an active shooter, because it brings up a really good point. When you start getting into the color appliances, you can go as far as, say there's a tornado warning. Oh my gosh, all these lights are orange. We must have a serious event going on, or red. And you can start identifying and automating some stuff that's happening around the office, or, around the city, environmentals, whatnot. Water leak in, say a ground floor, everything turns blue, and you can start doing really, really cool operations like that throughout the day. So getting past some of the features, obviously one of the most critical components is cost. Everybody wants to save money. And the chart I have up there kind of gives you an idea on the different type of bulbs and how much money you're actually going to save just on a single installation. As you can see, LED lighting, it's not even a contest as far as longevity and price. So just that alone, not counting the cost of operation, you're going to save a lot of money. And I think that the next slide kind of better details installation and retrofitting. And Sean, with your extensive experience out in the field, I think you would be best suited to kind of discuss this and kind of where some of the challenges are and where a lot of the benefits are running this over a structured cable system versus having electricians come in on standard AC.
Thanks, Eric. So it's a great point. The AC system, as you can see in the picture on the left, just the conduit in and of itself that is run, and we're only looking at one picture, but just the conduit in that particular project, the conduit, not the wiring, not the labor, not the people hanging it or anything else, the conduit probably costs double what a PoE solution would cost that is structured cabling type of system with network architecture. The downside, the challenges that we have is because it's the norm to run an alternating current standard electric system, and even some of the electrical engineers and electrical companies sent their technicians to Bixie who is, that's what all of us RCDDs and any of us that are in structured cabling are accredited by VIXI, but sent their technicians to VIXI because it was a threat to their industry, because we were going to be eliminating a lot of the AC electric projects. Ohio's standard is we still have to have emergency lighting with AC current, AC electric. That's one light on top of every exit door, and it has to be a certain amount of lumens. Other than that, the entire facility can be run on PoE. So other than those couple of challenges of being the norm, that's what everybody puts in. We just recently had a client that we proposed this to, and it was a very hard no. And it's discouraging because understandably there's more to reaching out to an electrical engineer or a company and saying, this is our floor, these are the lights we need. But at the end of the day, if they were to reach out to us, we're going to give them the very same quick turnover response, because implementing something like this is extremely easy and doesn't include nearly what you see in that picture on the left.
Mm-hmm. So what I kind of want to move on to is just in interest of everyone's time is some of the top use cases that we have. And I've broken it down in a fairly quick chart just to kind of go through some of these. So obviously in the first one, you're taking a lot of that electrical load off of all the circuits going on, because it's being provided by switches. Now, Sean, I kind of rely on you for this, with the field experience that you've had. How often, if at all, have you seen where the price of the switches will kind of deter people from moving to PoE and say, well, you know what, I've already got this. We've got the conduit ran. Why should we go to PoE?
So this was a much more challenging question, Eric, 10 years ago, because you had to purchase switches that had the architecture that any enterprise company today would use. And it was buying a Lamborghini when you only went 20 miles an hour. It was just really not worth the cost. And it was understandable why that wasn't able to get off the ground. Since then, there's the PoE lighting initiatives and the different TIA standards that have come out, where we've taken all of the, the horsepower, a lot of the horsepower out of those switches and dumbed it down so that it's PoE. It still runs a gig, but it doesn't need to have all of the benefits that enterprise switches need from a network standpoint. So today, the switch for something like this is much less than it used to be. However, we're coupling that with, again, the cabling infrastructure that combined now versus 10 years ago, you couldn't even buy the switch for that. And now we're talking about installing systems. So hopefully that answers your question as far as the switching.
Yeah, no, absolutely. One of the features that I am just beyond in love with is having the opportunity for everyone to kind of personalize their workspaces, like I mentioned earlier. Sean and I are vastly different as far as, warm, cool light. You have some people who love a very, very bright environment, some, pitch black. All this can be accomplished. Granular occupancy, very simple. You can go office level, you can go suite level, building level, etc. Daylight harvesting, and then the highly flexible schedule that can be customized at any given time. Productivity, I will say if you put me in a bright office environment, I'm going to get lost, because that's just not my preference for work. I'm much more efficient, like it is kind of now. Same with Sean in that darker environment. And it really gives everyone that opportunity to just craft exactly what you want. Real-time conference room availability, also a cool feature. You can put this on an overlay, on a display. You can say, oh, cool, I've got 3 conference rooms that are green on the top floor. I can go up there. I know they're available. Or you can actually custom light the conference rooms based on availability. If there's been no one in there for 5-10 minutes, change the color, change, the room temperature, change whatever you need to. Retail stores, same type of thing. Depending on what type of theme you're going for, depending on what you're selling, you can change all the stuff on the fly. Emergency pathway lighting for first responders, kind of what Sean had mentioned for the active shooter situations. Same applies for tornadoes, fires, etc. Hospitals, code blue indicators. Those are really, really nice features to have. And then all the features on the right, obviously, are things that we had talked about and things that we're really, really excited about and passionate about, because PoE lighting offers so much potential beyond just being a traditional light, which is really, really nice to have. If we could go one more, thank you very much. One example that I really, really like to use for PoE is a hotel. And the reason I say that is because it's got the best of several different worlds. You have an office environment, you have residential, you have commercial, all kind of lumped into one company. So you have all these individual suites on whatever floors where guests are coming in. It kind of helps you gauge the use of each individual room. So why have we not used room 312 in 2 years? It's an exaggeration, but nonetheless still an example. In addition, you can start talking with your housekeeping staff. So we know that there's 50% occupancy on the second floor. We could probably take that floor before we go after and start cleaning a floor on the third floor that's showing 90% occupancy. Same with exterior or emergency lights, like I had mentioned. And overall, I think it just kind of goes for the overall guest comfort vibe.
Perfect.
So with that being said, Sean, is there anything from a kind of an example implementation that you'd like to throw in?
Schools. I mean, we can talk about schools. Schools is one of the scenarios that we've recently been faced with, where I just asked a distributor that helped design a school system here locally in Ohio. I said, why didn't we do PoE lighting? And they looked at me and just said flat out, no one knows about it and the cost. Because light fixtures themselves, again, just the fixture themselves cost more than a standard tray light. Not a whole lot more, but they cost more. And it was just, I'm afraid of it and its cost. So schools really take, and they encompass this entire presentation that Eric's put together and serve it up on a silver platter. Your active shooter, your fire drills, if the tornado goes off, the hallways turn orange. And if you're in certain classrooms, only the lights going to the safety zones change colors. Active shooters in schools that are equipped with this type of system, the teachers can change the colors to green, that all the students are safe, and also with the very same app can lock her door and not be able to get into it. That also helps with just the district in general can look at as Eric said, the occupancy or the usage, and be able to turn things off and save a really amazing amount of money that, as we know, since school districts are starving for funds right now, can be the difference between buses for the middle schoolers or not. So this goes much further than just lights, even though I think the lights are really cool.
And I am very, very happy that you mentioned the cost of the fixtures as well, because yes, the fixtures are a little bit more than what you would traditionally expect. But once you get past that initial investment, the ROI is crazy as far as what you would actually save on an ongoing basis just by utilizing them. And I think, Sean, when we were at the Bixie conference, wasn't the number somewhere between 50 and 70% roughly that you're going to save overall?
50 to 74%. And again, that 50 to 74% is the 50 is full-time on during your workday. So you're going to save minimally half if you do what we do now and have the lights lower or utilize daylight harvesting. You can see up to a 74% difference. I don't know what electric costs for the floor of a building. I can imagine it's not cheap, but slash that by 74% and you're going to raise eyebrows.
Perfect. And actually, I think somebody put in a question asking, where they asked, what is the time frame of ROI, and are there green credits from local utilities?
So Sean, I'll take that one. Yes, there are credits for implementing PoE lighting. The exact numbers obviously vary based on where you're located throughout the country. And as far as the ROI, that's an immediate thing that you'll start seeing. obviously, the next month of bills and whatnot, but it's something you see immediately.
Perfect. We do have another one. Do you have to replace all of your current lighting, or can you phase this in?
You can absolutely phase that in. And Sean, I'm sure you have a lot of experience with customers as far as them wanting that just because of budget constraints.
Sure. When we want to make our conference room a Teams room, if I'm a company, I want to make a Teams room. So while I'm going to take down the projector screen, I'm going to put up the large monitor, I'm going to go ahead and replace the lights, because the actual footprint of the light is not going to change. And while I'm adding the network cable behind that television, I'm going to add the network cable to that light, terminate that, and it's all finished. So you can absolutely phase that approach for what you're doing right now. The other thing that we can do from a phased approach is, if we're adding a couple of network cables for a printer over there, while we're at it, we're going to drop a couple of cables off up above, because starting in Q4 of this year, we're gonna change out all of our fixtures. Well, now your infrastructure is already in place. Now all you got to do is change out lights.
Perfect. All right. And we have another one. How long would it take to implement a PoE lighting system for my office from start to finish?
That's an interesting question. And, a lot of it, and I'll let Sean kind of dig into this one, since he's obviously been out in the field a lot with this. But my quick answer is that really it depends on the size of your organization. It depends on how in depth you kind of want to go with it.
Correct. So if you wanted a printer location and I come out and I pull the cable and drop it down the wall and I cut in a hole and I mount the faceplate and I test it, that takes depending on the length of it, an hour and a half. So it would take exactly the same amount of time to put that light into that space in the ceiling. If we were to do 50 lights, it would probably take start to finish 3 days to install that many lights. Now, setting up all of the ancillary modes and integrations, whether it's going to be to your fire alarm or security, so on, that could take a little bit more time. But physically, from nothing to flipping the switch and your lights coming on, 3 days. But again, that's fully dependent upon what size of system that you're looking for.
Yeah. Cool. Well, we have just a couple minutes left, so I'll ask one more. What type of business would benefit the most from this kind of lighting? This person put, I'm in an office and do some build out, but does it make sense to do it in just a simple office?
I absolutely think so. Basically it boils down to, if you want to save money on your lighting, it's a very, very simple, easy option to implement. So to me, it makes sense. And again, Sean, with you being out there, I'm sure you've seen that too, where a lot of small businesses, you could have 1,000, 2,000 square feet, and they're wanting to implement this type of solution just to save money.
Absolutely. It's really kind of interesting. You get into the Q3 and Q4, the sun goes down early. We all work late. Having that lighting is nice, because I can adjust it. Again, if you turn these fluorescent lights on above me, someone out there has a method to be able to figure out how productive I really am. And I can eliminate that by saying I'm not going to be nearly as productive as I would in my little mushroom office with very mellow light that's on. So that's just how I prefer it. So productivity is paramount. However, to the stakeholders or the owners of the business, the cost, any cost that can be cut is going to be beneficial. So if I have the opportunity and my wife would allow it, I'd put it in my house. She won't. So currently I just have electric, but all things are possible.
Cool. Well, sounds exciting. I think that's about all the time we have today. So thank you, Eric and Sean. I know you're both busy, so I appreciate you taking the 30 minutes today to present for our audience. For anyone that's on still, please consider joining us next week on June 8th. Our topic is digital health and the future of medicine. We have Chirag from W.L. Gore and Associates presenting. And if you're interested and reaching out with any questions or speaking inquiries, you can contact me at virtual30series@gmail.com. I also have Eric and Sean's emails listed here for anyone interested in reaching out to them directly if you have any specific questions on PoE lighting. That's all we have for you today. I will leave this screen up so anyone can jot that down if they want it, but that is it for today. So thank you, Eric, thank you, Sean, and thank you everyone for joining. Have a great Tuesday, everyone.
You too. Thanks for putting it together.
Yeah, no problem.
Appreciate it.
Bye.